Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Rethink Your Refresh with Storage that Solves Problems. This special webinar is brought to you in partnership with Pure Storage and produced by Actual Tech Media. Thank you so much for joining us on this webinar. This is going to be a really special event. We have a real customer case study to talk about on this, and we also want to help to get your questions answered about your storage challenges and the future of storage in your IT organization. Before we get started, just a few things that you should know about the webinar. First off, my name is David Davis, and I'll be serving as the moderator. We encourage you to use the questions box. It's there in your audience console, just to the right of the word handouts. If you click on the word questions, I see many of you have already said hello or good afternoon from across the United States and around the world, so we appreciate that. But we also want your technical questions around storage and specifically today's topic, how this has helped customers out there and how it can help you as well. So I'll call your attention to the questions box that way. And we look forward to your questions. Experts from Pure Storage and our presenters from Anton are standing by to answer those questions. We also have a handout there in the handouts tab about why it's time to rethink your storage refresh. So I encourage you to download that. And then at the end of the webinar, I'll be announcing the winner of today's prize. That is an Amazon $300 gift card. You must be present on the live event to qualify, and the terms can be found in the handouts tab. We'll also be running our best question prize on the webinar today. So keep those questions coming to be entered for an extra Amazon $50 gift card, which will be announced after the webinar. And with that, I'm excited now to introduce you to today's expert presenters. They are Mr. Kevin Rickson, Director of Portfolio Marketing at Pure Storage, Mr. Josh Smukler, President of Anton, and Mr. Micah Hassinger, Operations Manager at Anton. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Take it away, Kevin.
Welcome. My name is Kevin Rickson, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to rethink your refresh and simplify your storage. I am joined here today by Micah Hassinger and Josh Smukler, who are from Anton Computing, but they're going to be talking about their real-world experiences working with Pure to help solve problems at Passaic County, New Jersey. So what do we mean when we talk about Rethink Your Refresh? Well, basically, it's Pure's solution to help you escape the status quo that's been in storage pretty much forever. The way that legacy storage vendors have increased maintenance rates over time, basically as a forcing function to get folks to have to do a forklift refresh, basically to rebuy all their storage. Move all the data from the old storage to the new, and pretty much start over from scratch. And even if you have a technology that allows for scaling out and adding new nodes and new boxes into your storage, over time, you're going to have to replace the old storage. And it's a hassle. It's very expensive, whether you're paying extra to keep the old stuff on the floor or because you have to rebuy all your storage. And there's a lot of hidden costs that are involved in there too. This whole refresh and rebuy cycle not only includes all of the purchase price of having to rebuy your storage all over again, but those migration projects often have a lot of hidden costs in them. And in fact, they can represent 60% of the cost of buying that old array in the first place, just to make sure that you get everything moved over. And then, of course, having to buy the new array early, keep that old array on the floor longer. You know, it's just not a tenable model. And so Pure had taken a look at, how can we reinvent storage? Our whole approach to it has been to try and copy the best of what most organizations have seen with software as a service. Basically buying it once and then making sure that it just continues to get better over time. So you only have to deploy it once and then upgrade everything in place. That means no planned downtime, no data migrations. Everything just keeps running at full performance. You never have to turn it off. You can modernize both the media and the controllers to stay modern. All the benefits of new processing capabilities, new features, advances not only in chip technology but also in flash itself. You can always stay on the leading edge and make sure that you are able to have applications and data served up to customers, clients, constituents whenever you need to. And overall, the whole idea is to make sure that that initial storage investment is protected over time. So, as I said, Micah and Josh are here to tell us a little bit more about their experience using Pure, because it's one thing when a vendor says, hey, look how great we are. What most people want to hear from are actual users and what the actual experience is like, how organizations were able to solve problems, save money, and be able to respond in ways that they weren't able to before. So a little bit about Passaic County. They're located in Northeast New Jersey, a little more than 500,000 residents. And Anton itself is I'll let Josh and Micah describe a little bit more, but basically they've been the outsourced IT, certainly around anything that has to do with storage for the majority of Passaic County's functions. They have 2 data centers requiring replication of data between the sites as well. So Josh and Micah, why don't you tell us a little bit, let's start with what Anton does, what you do for Passaic County, and what some of the challenges are that you see managing the IT for a large organization like that.
Sure, of course. So,
yeah, Josh, you want to start us?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that to start. And so, Anton Computing is a local service provider, managed service provider, in specializing in local government, county government, and law enforcement in the New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania area. We've been working alongside Passaic County since 1999, so it's been 22 years at the time of this recording, and we've had a great relationship with the county, managing all phases of their IT operations: storage, virtualization, desktops, security, telephony, you name it. By and large, Anton Computing is the IT department for the county of Passaic, and we fill that function as well with a lot of other agencies and municipalities in the region.
Great.
Particularly, we've had a lot of challenges that, particularly around storage, around virtualization, data consolidation, data growth, with a large organization of that size, obviously. Storing that data, securing that data, backing up that data, and allowing for predictable expansion has been a challenge of ours for a number of years.
Got it. So what were some of the top imperatives that you wanted to address with your legacy storage? I mean, was there I'm assuming that there's something along the lines of the kind of story that I was talking about with the classic refresh and rebuy that was looming over you. What was the process of the refresh like, and what was the main reason behind it?
Sure. So, initially, and many, many years ago at this stage of the game, we consolidated our data storage onto shared storage platforms. And we've proceeded with many refresh cycles, refresh, rebuy, all that kind of stuff. And it has always been a challenge, because inevitably, even when staying within the same manufacturer, newer generations of products haven't been compatible with older generations of product, or you have a manufacturer who's acquired a product and that's the new toy in town, and they'd rather sell you that, and that's not compatible with the old one. And so a number of flexibilities around upgrading, around refreshing, in order to stay current, made the every 3 to 5 year cycle of forklift upgrading storage to be a major problem for us. It was always major upheaval. There's always getting employees retrained, and getting things recertified, and trying to figure out how to migrate data between 2 platforms that aren't necessarily aren't necessarily compatible. And like I said, that contain many challenges for us.
Right. So, you're caught in that cycle. If nothing else, you're going to have to pay a lot more in maintenance charges just to keep the old stuff on the floor. So you might as well be looking at new storage, and it could either be new from that same vendor or from other vendors. Yeah, sounds like a pretty classic story there. And I do appreciate, you pointing out one of the things that is often overlooked in that cycle is that the migration process itself can be fraught with expenses and, gosh, didn't realize this. Yeah, now we got to train everyone on the new system. So a lot of
Absolutely.
hidden stuff too.
Yep.
Great. So what was that legacy storage platform, if you don't mind me asking?
So we for many years we had HPE and Dell and EMC storage platforms that have been in use.
Got it. And so then you decided to take a look at Pure. So what was that process like? Had you heard about Pure beforehand? What were some of your first impressions with it?
Sure. So I had known about Pure for many years, as a matter of fact. Wasn't even aware, to be fair, of the the Evergreen model yet, but I was familiar with the platform. Had always had a positive impression. Had met with Pure reps many times and had a positive impression. And it kind of came to the point where we were looking to do some things around stretch clustering and active cluster. And when we talked to other vendors, Pure was something, like I said, we had been aware of. Had kind of always thought, oh well, I mean, all flash, that's great, but it's probably really expensive, and we have a lot of storage. And so we don't want to overpay per gigabyte and so on and so forth. But it got to the point where, again, in having conversation with other vendors, we just really weren't. It got to the point where what we were trying to do with our systems was just more advanced than they were really than they were really able to reasonably accommodate. And so the conversation was, look, this is what I want to do. And either give me a solution for it, or I'm going to find a vendor who will. And at that point we decided, what, let's bring Pure in. Let's take a good serious look at it and see what they have to offer. Because I need a vendor who's not doing storage. The words I used were, I'm tired of buying the same old storage.
Right.
I'm getting newer stuff, but it's the same old storage with the same old technologies and the same old limitations. And I need somebody who's giving me something new.
Got it.
And so we ended up we came to Pure.
Great, thanks. And yeah, so it sounds like there was some performance issues. Obviously, it was time, and you'd gone through that cycle quite a few times. So, once again, it might as well try something a little bit different. But performance, the ability to stay modern, sounds like that was a clear area. So, what was your impression about the Evergreen storage model that Pure uses to keep storage modern without having to rebuy it?
Well, for us, that was a slam dunk. It was a slam dunk. Like I said, even when we initially engaged with Pure, I wasn't even aware of that. And then as we were talking about it and realizing that no, I'm in this array, and as long as we keep that Evergreen maintenance, we're getting new controllers every 3 years. We obviously have a high performance back end, and so I'm looking down the as we look at our forecasting and our strategic planning, we're realizing, well, wait, okay, I can take my storage maintenance out of my operational budget because we're able to buy 5 years up front. I don't need to worry about the capital budget swell every couple of years of having to spend
right
a $500,000 or more on a storage system. It was a very, very big value add to us, to where, it really, like I said, we kind of becomes a platform for life. And we're able to stay current, stay modern, get the new features that Pure is putting into their software and is putting into their controllers and is putting into their hard drives and all of those things, without having these disruptive, invasive operations every couple of years in order to, stay somewhat relevant.
Got it. Thanks,
Yeah,
Josh.
it's
Hey,
interesting,
Micah,
Kevin,
yeah, go ahead.
when we sat in with we went to a meeting, a sales presentation with Pure and our reseller, and I didn't know about Evergreen, had no idea what it was. I thought it was regular maintenance. And when the slide came up, my hand went up, because I've always been told if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And so that was the question that I asked. So wait, are you telling me that so long as we continue paying our Evergreen maintenance, we're going to get new controllers every 3 years, and I'm never going to have to drive a forklift into my data center again to pull my storage out? And the response we got from sales was, well, yeah, that's exactly what we're telling. And so I asked the question again, because it just didn't fit, right? Because that's out of the box for most storage companies. And it is replacing our storage. I mean, we had to do it once, of course, because, one last time for Pure to come in. But to never have to take that, because it's not something you can do overnight. It's not something you can do in a few days. You're talking about weeks, possibly months long, to migrate from one platform to another. Right. And I can take that off my calendar every 5 years. That's huge. And as Josh said, the expense, that's huge as well. It becomes, from a government perspective, it's no longer a capital expense. Now it's just an operating expense, just a recurring operating expense that happens every year, that we are guaranteed state-of-the-art storage. We're guaranteed state-of-the-art controllers. We just have to keep up with that. That in and of itself was huge for me. And it made the decision in my mind because no competitors offered that service.
Right. Yeah, and I like how you mentioned it. It really is maintenance in a sense. It's just sort of souped up maintenance. We call it the Evergreen subscription, and it includes what you would normally assume would be in a maintenance and support contract from a legacy vendor, but with the addition of in your case, an Evergreen Gold that then includes the hardware subscription. So you mentioned, right, at least on renewal every 3 years, you're able to get through the free every 3 program, whatever the latest and greatest version of your controller is. But what a lot of our customers use is the Upgrade Flex. That means at any point during that subscription, you can move up to whatever, based on performance needs or capacity expansion, whatever your scenario might be, move up to the exact right most modern controller, not just one generation later, but whatever the latest one that's available is, and then not have to go through all that data migration. It just pops in and away you go.
Yeah, that was like I said before, and like you said, it was huge for us.
Yeah, and I also appreciate how you said you didn't believe it at first, because that is, one of the main things that we hear, and the competition as well, I think, has never quite understood it, either. And a big part of that is because it's all built on the foundation. Everything from the very beginning was architected so that we could offer the ability to swap out controllers, not have to replace the flash. The flash is designed to work with the next generation and the generation after that and the generation after that of controllers. So there's never any planned obsolescence. So as you said, then now your costs are predictable across the board. Can I ask you, what kind of workloads are you running?
We run a few SQL servers on there. We used to run Exchange on there as well. We still have a smaller Exchange server on there. We run multiple file shares on there. We run it's nothing that demands ridiculously high IOPS, right? But that was true across all the platforms. We do see in the dashboard that the Pure devices they're just basically sitting back ready to go right now. They're begging for more IOPS from us. So as we continue pouring more load on them, we've never had any issues with disk latency. never had any issues. Never heard from any users complaining. I mean, if you've been in the business long enough, no one will ever tell you things got faster. They only tell you when they
Right.
got slower. But on that front, of course, no news is good news. But in-house, from an IT perspective, we have noticed a significant increase in speed, a significant decrease in time spent waiting for things. And to the point on Evergreen before, it made me realize the fact that the perpetual controller thing. It made me realize that Pure is far more confident in their devices than other manufacturers are. You guys know that it's not going to need to be replaced in 5 years. And if it does, you give us a new one. You have a clear set. You're very confident with your device, and that makes me and Josh as well, I'm sure, confident with the device as well.
That's great. Yeah, and that's a great point, because we have, just through the Evergreen program, upgraded over 3,500 controllers. So that's, that many arrays that are just continuing and going on. And as you said, that's great peace of mind, not only knowing you don't have to shell out the money, but just all the complexity, doesn't enter back into it. You were talking about your workloads and the fact that you're not getting, complaints from users about, stuff either not being fast, or I would assume not breaking. What is that ongoing management like with your Pure Flash arrays? I
have to be honest with you, it's minimal. Because I'm on the device regularly just to make sure, no surprises. We have had in the past, we have had just a connectivity blip happen where there was human error, cable unplugged in the room by mistake. But of course, the device kept functioning on backup connectivity. Email alerts went out immediately. We heard back from Pure support immediately. Is everything okay? Is everything okay? Yeah, everything's fine. It's on us. We unplugged it. Sorry. And but that response being as quick as it was, again, that made me far more confident as well, because now I know that when I have a serious problem, hopefully I won't have a serious problem. If there is a serious problem, Pure will be on the case probably before I'm even aware it's a problem.
That's great. And I love hearing that about our support organization. I mean, that's again, something that you don't often hear a lot of people bragging about how great the support was from their legacy vendors. And even if they do, it tends to be something where, well, we'd rather not have to be talking to support. We'd rather it just keep working. And, that's hard to do unless you build that into the system. So I'm really glad that it's been working out for you, and that you're noticing that, you don't have to spend as much time worrying about it. I know that, we try to keep the interface pretty simple. So it's not like you've got a whole bunch of knobs and buttons that you have to twiddle with just to make sure that it's tuned and running and keeping up. So that must be a great boon to your organization.
Yeah, it really has been. I mean, Josh did a lot of the work in the beginning as far as getting the device, the initial setup, getting it online. I've been doing the day-to-day if I need a lung created here and there, and comparing it to previous arrays that I've had exposure to. It's so much easier, just to create the LUN. The replication is already in place. The replication it starts happening immediately once I create the LUN. I just present it to my hosts, and I'm writing data, and I'm writing data to both. It's being replicated through maybe if I'm taking my time, 2 minutes worth of work.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic.
We've been over the moon operationally. And I will say that, the user interface, right? It's obvious that Pure has put a fair amount of thought, right, into their user interface. And some of the problems we've had with other arrays where there's a million little nerd knobs and you can adjust this and tune that and so on and so forth. And you can do those things on Pure. It's not that you can't, but Pure is really, really good at exposing the things that you need right up front for just your everyday life, and kind of keeping that stuff, it's there, but it's off to the side. You don't need it. So it's not in your way, and you're not wading through a sea of nerd knobs to just do the everyday task of growing a volume.
I like how you put that, nerd knobs. Having worked in the storage industry for more years than I care to admit, yeah, that is one of the things that I noticed about Pure when I joined here years ago, was that it is purposely designed to provide some of the customization that people are used to with certainly enterprise class storage, but not having to make it mandatory. And that so much of it is really embedded within the software. We don't require you to make trade-offs. If you want data reduction, now you're going to have a performance hit, or things along those lines. Because again, when you're purpose built with simplicity and the ability to upgrade over time, as like Pure did from the very beginning, hopefully and we keep hearing this back from customers like you, that it translates to it's just simpler to run, and keeping it modern is not a major effort.
Yeah, the other thing, it does make me realize that the classic example is, pick any two of the three, speed, cost, and quality. And the Pure has been able, with the arrays that we use, has been able to take something from every single one of those, right? So we got all three with our Pure storage array. To go anywhere else, it just it doesn't make any sense physically for us.
That's great. And, I know that you touched on support, and that, you were alerted to issues, including someone unplugging the array. What has it been like to work with Pure as a partner, as an organization? Do you feel that we've been standing by you as a customer and a client?
Definitely. Just from the one experience with support, it was, the case was open to make sure everything was good. And then, yeah, okay, guys, it was us. Well, you know what? Let's do a health check on it anyway, just to make sure. Okay, you can't do too many of those, especially on my storage array. And everybody was great there. The technicians that came out in the beginning for rack and stack for this, it was an interesting experience because, of course, it was in the middle of the pandemic, right? So we had to be careful. Everybody knows, with how that was handled. But everybody was very careful when they came out. The masks were on. They were, very concerned about making sure that we were okay with them coming. Should we delay? Everybody was good. Our concerns were met. The technicians' concerns were met. Everything was fantastic. And we did at the time ask the technician a question that he did not know the answer to. And the technician did what I liked seeing technicians do. And he didn't answer the question. Right? He didn't guess. No, he told me, listen, I don't know. And he immediately called somebody at Pure, a technician, a more senior technician, and got an answer back to me within minutes, which he did exactly what he was supposed to do. The fact that was happening at that level shows me that happens at every level throughout Pure support.
Oh, that's great. And I love hearing our customer experience with our support organization, because I know how world-class they are. And again, that's when the product itself is built to always stay modern, so you don't have to deal with 5 generations worth of old product, and everything is current and it's designed for simplicity, then that means, right, the support organization can focus on the proactive and predictive nature. We had an alert show up in our shop when your array was unplugged, and we're able to reach out that way and be able to focus on truly solving problems, like you said. And if we don't have the answer, we're going to find it out. So I always appreciate hearing those stories, because I know personally how professional our support organization is, and it's always great to hear that it's being reflected back in a really useful way by our customers. Because at the bottom line, it's about making sure that your storage is available, because if it's not available, then data and applications aren't available, all those SQL Server workloads, etc. Right? Well, great. Hey, anything else you two want to add about your experience?
I'd say just in general that we are very happy with the decision we made for Pure. From sales through project management and support. The whole thing has been aces.
That's great. Josh, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, no, like I said, we've been over the moon. And I mean, to echo on again, the technical support system, the technical support team has been absolutely fantastic. You know, there's no bad day in IT quite like a bad storage day. And you know, the team that works on the system, that monitors the system, and that supports the system really really inspires a lot of confidence, and they do a fantastic job making sure that we don't have a bad storage day.
That's great. Well, that, you know, like I say, that's our design goal as a whole organization, and we're always happy to hear when it actually is reflected back. Well, thanks so much, gentlemen. We're going to do some Q&A in just a minute. I just wanted to wrap things up here. So, you know, again, a lot of what we've been talking about today is this, you know, the design principle behind all of Pure's products and how we deliver them to our customers. Evergreen itself is not just a program. And in fact, that's the mistake that a lot of the legacy vendors make when they think about Evergreen. They dismiss it as a marketing program or a promotion or something where you can get free controllers. Again, if it wasn't built into our product architecture, if they weren't built from the ground up to be able to be upgraded, we wouldn't be able to offer all the value that Evergreen Storage delivers to customers like Passaic County. And, you know, the what and why for of all that is that it really is in the architecture. The fact that everything's software driven and that even software upgrades can happen without having to take the system offline. The fact that, you know, as we talked about, the controllers can be swapped out, but there's, you know, things that a lot of organizations that and legacy vendors don't think about when they're building even, you know, next generation flash arrays. You know, are you going to make sure that the storage you have now is going to work with the controllers that come down the pipe later on? And again, that's something we built in. We test multiple generations, and, you know, you could even go back a generation for some reason if that was better for your particular scenario. All of that is always tested, and we make sure everything is all going to work together. So then you have confidence and there's no surprises later on. The chassis itself was designed to last for 10 plus years. And that's what we mean. You know, we have customers who went with our very first product 9 years ago and are still up and live, you know, with the latest and greatest version, what we call our X family of controllers that are 8 generations later, and you know, are still up and running and have never had to suffer any downtime for it. That's pretty hard to do unless it's built into the architecture, and then it's matched with this subscription that we talked about, which covers, you know, really the whole ownership of your storage, everything from, you know, some programs that help you have confidence when you purchase, such as an unconditional money back guarantee and guaranteeing that you're going to get the right capacity out of the amount of flash that we're selling you. The flat and fair maintenance, where it doesn't go up over time. We don't do that maintenance extortion game that the legacy vendors often have done. The support that we talked about, and then especially on the upgrade side, when you have that Evergreen Gold subscription, you know, included controllers on renewal, the anytime controller upgrade through Upgrade Flex, and even the ability to trade in old flash for new, especially as you're, you know, expanding and you want to make sure you've got the smallest footprint possible with newer, denser flash. You can even trade in flash for credit. And what that means to customers is the ability to keep their costs predictable and low. When you don't have to rebuy your storage every 3 years through that forklift upgrade, you don't have those giant spikes. And, you know, as Micah and Josh were talking about, it's, you know, basically shifting the modernization of your storage into your operational budget with a very predictable amount of, you know, renewal and, you know, the Evergreen cost and all that on a regular basis. And, you know, that is something that delivers the agility to customers so that they can tackle the unforeseen problems, like, responding to COVID and a merger or an acquisition, or some other change that may happen that IT now needs to scramble. And if you're spending all that money rebuying storage, you may not have it available to you. Last thing I'll leave you with is just the idea that, Evergreen is something that is built into the product, and we've been delivering throughout the whole history, whether it was from our first controller upgrade, in the second year of operation, to how the Evergreen Storage program has evolved over time. We're constantly innovating, not only on the technology side, but on the ownership side for our customers as well. And as you see by that blue bubble there, competitors have only started getting into the game, if at all, in just the last couple of years, whereas we've been delivering this with no downtime and with full investment protection pretty much for the life of the company. I would like to point out that there's another way to consume the pure goodness that we've been talking about. If for some reason you are not looking to purchase your storage the way that Anton and Passaic County we're talking about, we also offer an as a service that we call Pure as a Service, which is more like how you consume public cloud, where you're simply paying for it on a based on your usage, like a utility. And that provides even more agility from a financial standpoint to make sure that you are paying for just the storage that you're using when you need it. And that is available both on premises as well as in the public cloud for a true hybrid cloud capability. So really what Evergreen means to our customers is they get that subscription to innovation that you heard Josh and Micah talking about. They purchasing it once and staying modern over time, being able to take advantage of any of the improvements, whether it's in capacity or performance or new features, et cetera, all included within the subscription. And having that predictability and getting out of that refresh and rebuy cycle and maintenance extortion cycle, for a truly new way of consuming your storage and rethinking it. I'd like to thank you all, and now we are going to open it up to questions and answers from our audience. And I do believe we've got one that came in. Actually, it's coming in off of one of the comments that Micah and Josh made about the installation. And I think Micah mentioned Josh, so did the install stuff. So I'll turn it over to you, Josh. What is the installation procedure like for Pure?
So I mean, it could not have been easier, quite frankly. No, the arrays arrived. We worked with Pure to have a technician scheduled to come out. And I remember we were talking and they said, okay, well, we have 2 arrays, 2 different sites. I said, okay, well, he'll be there on whatever date it was. Forgive me, I don't remember at the stage of the game, but I said, just the one day. That's it. And he goes, yeah, well, why would we do more? And certainly with my expectations set by legacy vendors was, this was I was going to have a 2-week, engagement potentially with the vendor, and then another month to 2 months of migration duties and all that were left in my lap that were not covered by their scope of work. So the guy came out, and sure enough, I mean, it was a day. He helped us get him racked up, got him powered up, got him up and online, and at the end of the day we were up and running. And they, like I said, they did a fantastic job. It could not have been simpler. It could not have been easier.
That's great. And I know one of the things we love talking about is the fact that, instead of an installation manual, it's what we call a tent card. It's basically like 2 business cards stapled together.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, where other vendors, I mean, I could show you the multiple page and ridiculous Excel files of host names and IP addresses and MTUs and all of this, pre-requirement checklists and blah, blah, blah. Whereas, with Pure was, well, here's your array. We'll be out next week and you're off to the races. It was welcome change.
Good. I'm glad to hear that because yeah, I think especially when it comes to legacy vendors, your definition of simple may vary. Is the watchword.
No,
Because
I mean,
having worked at one of those vendors, we claim to be incredibly simple, and I think Pure definitely raises the bar on that. Well, that's great to hear.
I've been doing IT for a long time, and let me tell you, I mean, it gives me concern about the product when I can't even figure out how to fill out the stupid Excel spreadsheet that needs to be done before they come on site to install it.
Well, yeah, we promise no Excel spreadsheets in your future, at least as far as Pure is concerned. Great. Well, one other question that came through, and it's related to, I think, something Micah mentioned, that there was probably even in the slides that I was talking about, that you have 2 data center locations. So are you doing any data replication between those 2? And if so, what are you using?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our 2 data center locations, which are interlinked via private fiber, which is a wonderful resource that we have at Passaic County. And then we have our arrays replicate. We do synchronous replication between the Pure arrays, and we're running active cluster.
Okay. So you're using the Pure functionality for that. Great.
Yep. So we're using active cluster. And one of the things that I was able to do thanks to Pure was to get rid of Site Recovery Manager. And we now run a VMware stretch cluster. And I don't have all of the existing overhead and interlink of site recovery and all of that in order to manage our failover failback.
Great. Micah, did you have anything to add on that?
No, definitely not. Just something that I mentioned before. Josh covered more than everything I was going to say. Just that it's like I said, creating LUNs with the active clustering in place from Pure. It's I don't normally quote Ron Popeil, but it's a total set it and forget it kind of thing, which is very nice from my perspective.
Yeah, I guess Ron Popeil isn't but wait, there's more guy, but that's what popped in my head when you said that. Well, Josh, Micah, thank you both so much for your time today. I really appreciate you sharing your experience of what it's like to use Pure to rethink your refresh and simplify your storage. With that, we will call it a day, and thank you all for attending, and have a great day.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the webinar today. And thank you to our expert presenters, Kevin, Josh, and Micah. Really great presentation, a great conversation as well. We got a lot of good questions from the audience. Thank you for those. We do appreciate those. I want to now announce the winner of our Amazon $300 gift card. That is going out to Michael Benzak from New Jersey. Congratulations, Michael Benzak from New Jersey. And we'll contact our best question prize winner after the webinar today. Again, before you go, don't forget to check out the handout that's available for download there in the handouts tab, why it's time to rethink your storage refresh. And of course, visit purestorage.com for more information and to sign up for a test drive so that you can see this solution for yourself. And with that, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.